Yeah, good morning, guys. Hopefully you can see that, but it is snowing. Lovely. It just started, so it's not really sticking to anything yet, but yeah. Snowing in the Yukon. Today is, what is today? Snowing in the Yukon. Today is May 29th, 2026. So yeah, that's a lot of fun. Let's walk around here and see if Kevin and his wife are still here. Oh, they are. So I'm going to get started putting the trailer away because I get the feeling it's going to be a long, slow day to tote today. All right, we are all packed up. You can see the snow on the hood of the truck. It's not really sticking to the road, but it is sticking to all the plant life, all the flora. And it's going to be a grumpy driving day. Alaskan snowbirds already left, so I'm going to be trailing behind them today. So first stop, I think, is going to be in Destruction Bay or Burwash Landing for some fuel and snacks. I don't think we're going to be seeing any Dall sheep today, guys. So this road right here, I am not even going to try and pronounce that. It's actually the old Alaska Highway. It just took off right to the left there. But well, you should look up where it used to go on the on Google Maps. You can even see the old bridge pilings way off there to the left, where the road crossed the river a little bit further to the south there. It's pretty interesting. Never driven down it, obviously, but would like to, maybe someday, just to go see where the end of the old Alaska Highway is. Creek's still full of snow and ice, but we have at least left the ice part, or the snow part, this morning. So it is still, snow is just gently falling, but not like it was on the southern end of the lake. So we might have been getting a little bit of lake effect snow down there. You might not be able to see it, but there is some ice on Kluane Lake still, just along the shoreline here and in these little bays. Crazy. Crazy, 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 crazy. Someone had better tell all these trees and bushes that have budded and leafed out that winter is still here. Right, update. We're about to get gas here at Burwash Landing, but it has transitioned over to mostly rain now. Kind of sleety rain, but it's definitely rain, and more rain, less snow. Anyway, we're gonna get gas here, and then I'm also gonna fill up in Beaver Creek, but it's still slightly cheaper here in Burwash Landing, so I'm just gonna top off with slightly cheaper gas before we push on. We are freshly fueled up in Burwash Landing, and now we're pushing on to Beaver Creek. Just past a sign that said permafrost affected area, next 220 kilometers, so next 110 miles or so. Basically the distance between here and Beaver Creek. Or not even Beaver Creek, here in the border. They're like, yep, road's bad. So we'll see how bad it is this year. I've heard conflicting reports on whether it's better or worse this year than it has been in past years. So I guess we will see. Alright guys, we are already starting to hit it. This looks like a spot that they fixed recently, but there was some whoopties back there. So it's gonna be like this, basically until we hit the border. Just gonna take it nice and slow. Last year I walked out here and showed you guys the view from this rest area here, but I'd show you again. There's the Alaska Highway. And you got a gorgeous view of the mountains right over there. Yeah, nice view. Still about 2 hours away from Beaver Creek. And that's if we can do the speed limit the whole time, which we're not going to. So, let's get back on this here road here and keep heading north. Ooh, finding some whoopties in the road. I have been working on the road. A lot of fresh pavement, a lot of whoopties that have been smoothed over a bit. But there's still plenty of excitement on the road here. Here's a fresh-ish patch. Here's another fresh-ish patch. You guys probably won't be able to see it. We'll see on the video, but there is a ton of fresh snow on the mountains over there. The name of this creek I just passed over is Swede Johnson Creek. Somebody named Swede Johnson. Whoa. Always watch out for these little orange flags. That's when you know the whoopties are bad. Dang it. I always pick up the camera right as the good view ends. Out the side there. Look at all that fresh snow up there. What a weird spring. I chatted with a local Yukoner while I was getting gas there at Burwash Landing, and even he was commenting on how just odd the spring it has been here in the Yukon. Just like Alaska, they had the coldest winter on record here in the Yukon, and then it's just been a cold, miserable spring, just like in Alaska. So what a weird time we're living in right now. Going over the Donjek River. Check it out, there's a helicopter over there. Hopefully you guys can see that through the glare. Wonder what he's doing. Whoa. Also, I do know that there is an active construction zone up here that's going to have flaggers and one-way sections, so we're going to run into that at some point. I don't know if you guys will be able to see in the view mirror of the truck, but my truck and trailer were pretty clean until we hit this dirt section of the highway here. It is what it is. Got another gorgeous view out there, if you guys can see it though. Got some mountains with snow wrapped in clouds. Pine trees, everything's wet. Looks pretty sweet in person. Still going on the dirt section. There's been a few potholes and a little bit of washboard, but overall it's been pretty smooth. I think I see, is that the flagger up there? I don't know. We'll see when we get closer. Also, there's the view again. Can't roll down the window because the mud will get flying up in here, but back on pavement. But we're gonna hit dirt again almost immediately. Somebody else that's biking. They don't look loaded down, so they must have a support vehicle that's traveling along with them. Could be this motorhome here, who knows. But yeah, you guys want to bike the Alaska Highway in this kind of weather? check it out. Dry road. Which is unfortunate because I was kind of hoping that I would drive through a nasty rainstorm so that it would clean off my truck, all this mud off my truck and trailer. It is sprinkling a little bit, so there's still the possibility of driving through some gnarly rain. Be the most remote section of the highway, but it is still gorgeous. Alright, we just passed Pick Handle Lake rest stop, which is where I spent the emergency overnight on my trip home last year. Overnight parking is not allowed there, but I did not know that. And I did not see the sign because I pulled in when it was pitch black and raining just so hard. Yeah, I can't stay there, but if you want to stop there for lunch break or picnic or something, you can absolutely do that. And it's in a gorgeous spot. Alright, here is the construction section. And we're going to be stopping right up here. Look at the view out there. You guys see the view out here while I'm rolling up to this stoplight? Just gorgeous. All right, we're here waiting for the pilot car. Check out the view. Also, look at my truck and trailer. Yeesh. Not as dirty as the Dalton Highway, but yeah. Excuse me. So dirty. We'll come back here. I already came back here and cleaned off the backup camera up there. Hopped up on the bumper. That was fun. But also wiped off the taillights and the license plate. So that way I can see what's going on and people can see my brake lights and stuff. Yeah. Gross. Definitely gonna do a quick spray off when we get to Toke, hopefully. You know what would be really awesome is if a bear would like come out of the woods right now. I would just love that. That would be so cool. I'm trying to manifest a bear for you guys so I can show it to you, since I've missed the last few bears on video. But see, here's the view on this side of the highway too. Spring is just springing, like green up just happened. Right here you can tell because the leaves are a kind of a brighter green color. So this is all pretty new. All right, I'm gonna get back in the truck and wait for this pilot car to get here and pilot me through the construction area. All right, here comes the pilot car, so we should be on the move in a minute. Took the time to clean the stuff on the back of the trailer, like I said, and then I also wiped off the headlights and my side view mirrors with my glass cleaner that I keep in the truck here. So be on the move in a second. Right, we're just about at the end of this pilot car section. The reason they're piloting us through here is they are working on one of the bridges back there. So had to go around a giant excavator, and we'll be leaving the pilot car here, and we've got about 45 minutes until we get to Beaver Creek, and then we'll be on to Alaska. We're going to be coming up on the Discovery Yukon lodgings here in a kilometer. They got camping and a little restaurant, I think, and some cabins that you can purchase to rent overnight. But no fuel or anything here. You gotta go into Beaver Creek if you want fuel. But my parents stayed here when they came up to help me move back down to Alaska in 2023. And they loved this little spot. So I've never stayed here. The timing's just never lined up properly for me to stay here at Discovery Yukon. But they really, really liked this little campground. So Discovery Yukon Lodging, if you get a chance, you should stay there. And one of these days, I'm going to try and make sure I can line it up so I stay there. Alright guys, we're back on the mud again. Sign back there said extreme dusty conditions. Well, not if it's been raining. The road's been pretty good so far. There's been a couple of interesting sections that had some really gnarly whoopties. So when I get to the next rest area, I'm gonna go back there and just make sure everything's still tied down and nothing is flying around in the back of the trailer. Because I hit some of those whoopties kind of hard. There was no avoiding it. So far, like I said, the road hasn't been too bad. I've definitely driven the road when it's been in worse shape than this. Is it perfect? No, but this road is very difficult and expensive to maintain, and the Yukon only has so much money to put towards it. Permafrost pipes right here, trying to keep the road from melting. The permafrost. Yeah, I'm gonna stop here and check on the trailer, then we'll keep on mushing. All right, it's about 30 minutes later. Front half of the trailer where the bedroom and bathroom are, the only thing that fell over was a duffel bag with some clothes in it. So everything was fine there. However, when I went to the back and opened it up, I had a thing of spices fall out of the spice rack, even though I put some bungee cords across the opening. Apparently that they're like these tall, like spice, tall and very skinny in this little tray thing. Somehow it had bounced out and gone over the bungee cords. Most everything was fine except the Montreal steak seasoning one had opened up, and there was Montreal everywhere. But it had fallen into a bin that I had sitting there that had a few things in it. A little tool bag with a couple of tools in it, a hard case with my jump start batteries and things, and then a case of cleaning stuff for certain items, we'll just say. But inside that little toolbox of cleaning stuff, I had some sharpening fluid for sharpening knives and things that had come open, and so all inside that toolbox. It had Montreal seasoning on the toolbox, so I just picked it up to shake the Montreal off, and suddenly liquid started pouring out of it, and I was like, oh no. Fortunately, it wasn't any of the oils. It was just some watery sharpening honing fluid. So it wasn't too bad to clean up, just time consuming, and used like 10 paper towels. But so got that all cleaned up, got the Montreal all cleaned up, and now we're about to get back on the road again. Just one of the things when you're towing an RV down the Alaska highway here. At least I'd rather clean up some Montreal steak seasoning and some watery knife sharpening fluid versus, having my stove turn on and filling my trailer with propane. All in all, not too bad. We still got about 15 miles of Alaska highway until we get to Beaver Creek, and then it'll be a few miles after that until we enter in Alaska. So let's get back on the road. Also, other than the two Dall sheep, potential Dall sheep, I still haven't looked at the footage. I have not seen any animals today, which is super odd. Usually I see at least something through this part of the Alaska Highway, but maybe it's just too busy, or because it's been cold and rainy, they've not been out and about. But I was kind of hoping that in this last remote section here that I would see, you know, some more bears or a caribou or something, maybe moose. But other than jackrabbits or snowshoe hares, whatever species of rabbit lives up here that tries to run across the road, not really seen anything. This is Snag Junction right here. That's the turnoff to go to the little town of Snag. There's a campground right here. But Snag is infamous for some really cold temperatures. Yeah, some really cold temperatures recorded out there at Snag. So if you want to stay in a campground that's famous for that, that's nearby, you can still drive out to Snag, I think. I haven't ever been out there, but I've looked at the road on the maps a couple of times. But there's a campground right next to the highway, so if you want to stay in Snag Junction Campground, where it could potentially be very cold, that's just right here. Passing by these stretches of land that just grow tiny little black spruce, and you know what that means. It means the permafrost is pretty shallow here. Some of these trees could be decades old, and that's just as big as they can go because the ground is frozen pretty shallow. I hope you guys can see the mountains through there. It's just what a gorgeous day with all the snow on the mountains. It is 53 degrees. We're hitting a heat wave. I'm still bouncing along the Alaska Highway here. We're less than 10 minutes away from Beaver Creek. I'll tell you what though, I am so glad that I spent the money on the better rear springs and also the Timbren bump stops. The bump stops they're extended and they're a progressive rate, so you hit them and it's not like hitting the stock ones, which is very harsh. These ones you'll hit and they'll kind of help take the load as you compress them. It's been a little bouncy, but the ride is not nearly as harsh this year like it was last year with the different suspension setup that I had on the Tundra. Even with the bigger trailer this year, it's been a much more comfortable ride. So I distinctly remember slamming the bump stops a few times last year, even with the lighter Micro Mini. Oh, hey, look, here's the more permafrost venting. Try and keep this section of the road from heaving so much. Yeah, so far I'm really happy with how the new rear suspension is performing. I still would not do this again. towing this big a trailer with this much stuff with a half-ton pickup truck, but Tundra is doing it, so I'm happy for that. Here we are, Beaver Creek, 2 miles, last thing in Canada before we get to the border. We're gonna stop and get gas, grab some drinks out of the back, and then push on back into the US. Oh boy, it's sprinkling. Got the booming metropolis of Beaver Creek here. Coming up on the old Westmark here on the right. Which I did find out that Holland America sold it pretty quick after they put it up. It's actually it was owned by the people that owned this campground right here, but the whole shebang has been closed for a while. So, but yeah, the people that bought that own that campground also bought the hotel, and the whole thing's out of business now. So it's too bad. All right, we're gonna swing in here and get some gasolina. All right, guys, we got the world's most expensive gas here in Beaver Creek, but had to do it because I don't have the range to get all the way to Tope. So we are topped off with fuel. We are 30 minutes away from the border sign, so that'll be our next stop. Here's the Canadian Border Services, which is literally just a mile outside of Beaver Creek. So thanks for letting me drive through your country again, Canada. I will see you again in August when I go down for a quick trip home to get more of my things. Also, here's the Beaver Creek airstrip. Yeah, gonna go around the border services, and then the US Border Services is up just across the international border here at about 15 miles or so. It's also starting to rain again, and I took off my puffy coat because I was getting too hot, but I don't know, it's always a little melancholy for me, this section of the Alaska Highway, because even though there's still a lot of Alaska Highway to drive inside of Alaska, this feels kind of like the end of the, because you've been driving through Canada for the last week. I don't know, it just feels kind of like the end of a big adventure. Kind of like when I drove south last year, I think I mentioned it. Once you get south of Fort Nelson, for me anyway, it feels like the end of your big epic Alaska Highway adventure because you're back in civilization. Going this direction, you're not going to hit civilization for a while, but it's still, I don't know, it still feels like the end of something when you leave Beaver Creek and are headed towards the border. Even though, like I said, there's still a few hundred miles of Alaska Highway to drive inside of Alaska. So, I don't know. It's kind of weird. It's how I've always felt about this little stretch of no man's land highway here between border services. Come on, rain, clean up my trailer. I'll also say that getting gas back there in Beaver Creek, there was a few people coming south, mostly Alaskans. There was one couple that was PCSing for the military, but they were looking at all of the rigs that were coming north through all that construction and like, oh, look how dirty they are. Like, yeah. So they were all worried, and I told her, I was like, yeah, it's no big deal. In my opinion, the highway's in pretty good shape. Better shape than some years that I've driven it, that's for sure. Are there some whoopty spots? Yeah, but I told her, I was like, yeah, it's pretty smooth. I was like, I think the highway is in pretty decent shape this year. So, yeah, just kind of funny to see the clean cars coming down from Alaska looking at all of us dirty people headed north and being all worried. Once again, couldn't get the camera out fast enough, but I did see one trumpeter swan in a pond along the side of the road here. So, add that to the list. Still no bears today, which kind of makes me disappointed. Yeah, this section of road is just the worst. This is the worst part because this is, you can call this like Alaska's driveway between Beaver Creek and the border, because it's pretty much exclusively used for Alaskans or Americans going to and from Alaska. Occasionally tourists, but the whole point of this road is to get you into Alaska. There's no point for Canada to even have this road here if it wasn't going to the border. So if there's a section of the road that the United States absolutely should be paying to make a lot nicer than it is, it's this section between Beaver Creek and the border. Whoa. Slow down. This part is quite whoopty. That'll be fun to drive when I finally get around to doing this highway in the wintertime. For the holidays this year. Hopefully. If we still have gasoline by then. Oh man, I missed my truck turning 140,000 miles. Alright, there it is. Of course, got one last orange flag marked road section. Thank you, Canada. Right before we get to the boundary line here. And we are also about to hop backwards by an hour. I'm a time traveler. We're going backwards an hour as we get into Alaska. Just feel the freedom entering my bones. All right, here we are again. I can't even count how many times I've crossed this particular border. All the signs are still the same. Doesn't look like anything has really changed since we were here last year. Still have all the trees and stuff mowed down for the international boundary line here. And same goes on the other side over there. All right, well, we'll say goodbye to the Yukon for now. See it again in August and then again in December. Here's the old Alaska sign. This is my favorite sign for countries or states. I like this one. All right, let's mush on. All right, here's the best part about this, being here at the border. So we're gonna go over here to meter settings, units, and go miles, MPG USA. Go back home. All right, we are back in miles per gallon and showing miles per hour. Awesome. All right, guys, we are through customs, easy peasy. And we're back in the United States. And they just redid this road a couple of years ago, and it's already, you can see, it's wavy. So it's tough to keep the roads from heaving up here. We'll keep on trucking. We've got an hour and 45 minutes or so to get to Tok. About 80 miles, 70 miles, something like that. Yeah, gonna have to take it nice and easy. And this is a notorious bump here on this bridge. You do not want to take this bridge right here at speed. It will bite you. They put up a bump sign, but they need to fix this because it is severe. Whoop. And this side too. Whoop. Yeah, the transition on and off this first bridge as you come into Alaska is just gnarly. So, all right. Keep on going down the road until we get to Tok, which is probably where we're gonna stop. Road damage. Now, the speed limit is theoretically 65. I'm not going to be doing 65. I'll be lucky if I do 55 along the Alaska Highway here. Because it's rough. It's not any better on the US side than it is on the Canadian side. Alright guys, about 30 minutes outside of Tok now. Just got off the phone with Bill from My Alaska. He wanted to check in. Appreciate people keeping an eye out for me. Found the rain again. Looks like we're gonna be driving through quite the little squall here for a bit. So I'm hoping it'll clean my truck and trailer up a little. All that mud. We are 20 minutes outside of Tok. So we are on the last little bit of Alaska Highway for this particular journey north. The only journey that I'm going to be taking with this truck and trailer combination for sure. And then tomorrow we're going to go from Tok down to Willow. But also, hopefully, I'm going to go wash the trailer and truck first. There's a nice RV wash. It's actually where we used to wash the buses for Holland back in the day. Northern Energy on the other side of town in Toke. So I'm gonna go spray off the truck and trailer before I leave tomorrow, just so that get all this Alaska highway mud and grime off of both of them before I go park up at the campground that I'm gonna be staying at for the first part of the summer here. So yeah, we're getting pretty close. Also, we're getting pretty close to the junction with the Taylor Highway. So I'll point that out when we get there. But if you want to go over top of the World Highway to Dawson, or if you're super brave, you can follow the Taylor Highway all the way out to Eagle to look at the Yukon River. This is where you would turn, up here. I did it for 2 summers. One of these days I'll take a trip out there on the Taylor Highway and show it to you guys, kind of show you what it's all about, just how fun it is to drive. And then you can just imagine a little 24-year-old Matt AK doing that with a motor coach that costs $750,000 with 45 some odd old people on it. Someday. This is the Taylor Highway at Tetlin Junction. You want to go to Dawson City, it's 165 miles that way. Eagle is some miles that way. I forget how many off the top of my head. It's 90 something, I think. But that means that we are under 15 minutes away from Toke. Crossing over the Tanana River. This is a new bridge. Back when I used to drive buses, the old bridge was over there. You can just see the old bridge abutment. But they built this new bridge a number of years ago. Yeah, if you want to launch your boat here, you can follow the Tanana River from here all the way to Fairbanks if you want. And if you guys watched my videos about my 2024 trip to Alaska, I talked about it a little bit, but once you get down out of the mountains here between Toke and Delta Junction, the Alaska Highway is pretty boring. It's just a lot of this, long, straight, flat, out in the open, no mountains to look at, to speak of. So it's kind of an uninteresting way to end your epic Alaska Highway trip by just driving through the flatlands here. Pretty soon here in a minute we'll be passing a DOT scale on the left, and then to the right you can still see it on Google Maps, but the towers aren't there anymore. But directly across the highway from the scale was an old Loran station. It was a Loran C station. So you can look up how the Loran positioning system worked, and I believe it was run by the Coast Guard, if I recall correctly. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. But you used to be able to see the Loran radio towers as we would drive along here, but they decommissioned that system and took the towers down sometime in the last 15 years since I drove tour buses through here. Now this is just a radio station, so we're not talking about that. Coming up here is the commercial bus station, and then pretty much directly across from it over here on the right was the Loran station. But as you can see, there's no more radio towers up there in the skyline to see. I don't even think there's a sign out here anymore. There used to be a sign that called out the Loran station, but I don't even think that's out here anymore. Yeah, it was pretty much just right through the trees right over there. This may have been the entrance for it right there. There's no sign, and just one little gate back in there because that's been decommissioned. All right, if you go in here, you got the Toke River Recreation Site down in there. Should ask my mom sometime about the night we slept down in the recreation site here next to the river. When she flew up in 2011, excuse me. She flew up in 2011 to help me drive home that summer. We slept down there in the Toke River Recreation campground, and it was very cold. She still brings it up, even though it's been 15 years. Welcome to Toke, Alaska. Alright fam, good morning. It is Saturday morning, and I am getting ready to leave Toke. Just got gas at the Three Bears across the street from the Toke RV Village where I slept last night. Show you guys right there. So just decided to grab a site there. Now I'm gonna go down to Northern Energy, where I used to wash the tour buses for Holland, and give a quick spray down of the truck and trailer just to get all the mud off of them. It's been a little bit of a slow morning because it was snowing on the Glen Highway near Gunsight Pass, Gunsight Mountain. And so Alaskan snowbirds, Kevin and I were kind of waiting to make sure that the road would melt by the time we wanted to drive through there. So we're not going to be paralleling each other anymore because he's still not certain which way they're going to go home. Yeah, we were kind of waiting for the weather to clear up so there would be no snow when we got down there. Hopefully it will have melted off. So that's why it's a little bit of a slow morning. So anyway, we are going to head down to Northern Energy and spray off the truck and trailer, and then we're going to head south on the Toke Cutoff Highway. All right, normally we would have turned left there, but we are going to come down here a little bit more and spray the truck and trailer off at Northern Energy, and then we'll come back this way to grab the Toke Cutoff Highway. All right, fam, we just spent about 40 minutes spraying off the truck and trailer of all the mud here at Northern Energy, which is the Tesoro station on the west side of Toke. So same spot where I used to wash the Holland America buses back in the day. It's funny, the wash pad works exactly the same as it did back then, and this was almost 20 years ago. Yeah, anyway, it's shaping up to look like a decent day. The road's actually dried out, but it's supposed to be raining off and on for the rest of today and into tomorrow before it warms up for the rest of the week. So hopefully it's a nice drive. We're about to make the turn here. See Anchorage to the right. So we are saying goodbye to the Alaska Highway until August, when I will be burning back through here in just my truck to go back down south to get more of my belongings. Yeah, if you're driving through Toke and you want to get gas and also wash your rig, the Tesoro station on the west side of town, Northern Energy, is where you want to do it, because they will give you a free car wash if you fill up your tank there. And it's just cold water, full pressure, always on. They do have a couple of brushes there usually, don't count on it, but yeah, it's just cold, straight cold pressure wash. So don't expect anything fancy, but it'll do the job to get the majority of the bug carcasses off, and also mud, and that's basically what you want to use it for. Here's the Sourdough campground where I stayed on the way down last year. It's an awesome campground, but I just didn't want to fuss with driving down here and then driving back into town and then unhooking because I wanted to go get dinner at Fast Eddie's. Toke RV Village was just a little bit more convenient, even though Sourdough is a little cheaper. Well, I tried to stop, but couldn't get stopped in time. But off to the left, down in a pond, I just saw a mama moose with a tiny little calf. Tiny little baby moose. Check it out, guys. There's still ice on the rivers up here, too. Makes me wish I'd been up here last winter. Even though I went home for good reasons, to swap out trailers and stuff. I don't know. Kind of sad I didn't get to experience the record-setting winter and extremely strange spring that they had up here. And I'm pulling over to let a car by. It was slowly catching up to me. Yeah, look at the mountain there, guys. So pretty. Look at the snow on the mountains way up there in front of us. I missed seeing snow. We got hardly any snow in Utah all winter long. It was so depressing. Done with the Toke Cutoff Highway. And we're going to be on the Richardson for a few miles until we get to Glen Ellen, and then we'll turn on the Glen, which will take us down into Palmer, and then we'll turn onto the parks and head on over towards the property. I just looked at the, so I've been using a single SD card, which is risky for this for filming this entire thing, for everything that I didn't film on my iPhone. But, oh, here's the Glen Ellen Airport. Sorry, it's like a squirrel. Oh, airport. But I can film over 5 hours of raw footage on this 512 gigabyte SD card that I've got in this DJI camera, and I'm down to an hour of raw footage storage available. So I've been filming a lot for y'all. So I hope you guys are gonna enjoy the videos. But yeah, I just thought it was interesting that I filmed a lot of raw footage. I've got probably over 4 hours of raw footage now that I'm gonna have to sort through later. 561. Whew. Whew. Gas is more expensive in Alaska than it was, I think, anywhere, almost everywhere in the Yukon, by the way. This is insane. Anyway, these pumps are busy, so we're gonna pull up the cheat sheet and we're gonna go to the back pumps. So you come around this side, and there's the secret pumps over here that you can fill up at. So you don't have to wait in line over there. All right, we got gas here at the hub. Went in and bought some more snacks. Got me Core Power for lunch because I'm sick of eating the protein bars. And I'm almost out of road snacks over there. But all right, next stop is going to be the Circle K in Meadow Lakes, where I've gotten a lot of gas. Might stop and see some of the pullouts along the way, but that is going to be the next fuel stop, and I'll get gas there before I drive all the way out to the property. Because it's cheap, a little bit cheaper there than it will be in Willow. So that is going to be our next fuel stop, and that is just under 3 hours from here. You guys can see the mountains over there, but there is still a lot of snow, and a lot of fresh looking snow up in the mountains over there. Bad news, guys, we lost spring again. That thing is greened up here. on top of the Glen Highway. It'd be so sweet to have a piece of property up here on the top of the pass. Just come spend the summer. 'Cause the views of the mountains are unreal. Yeah, it's just gorgeous. It's also pretty chilly. Some of these clips where I hold the camera out the window, it's like 46 degrees out there, and I'm doing 60 miles an hour. So my arm is tingling now. But still a ton of snow up there in the mountains. Still some snow here too. Like, look at that. There's snow right there. And you see these snowplow markers. Like, they need them to be that high because they normally get a ton of snow up here. Yeah, still in breakup up here at the top of the pass. Not even thinking about spring yet. All right, this is the Eureka Roadhouse. But look at the views out there. Guys, I think this is Gunsight Mountain Lodge up here, which is where it was snowing this morning. This whole section of the highway had snow covering it. Which is zero fun. So that is why we took our time this morning. Yep, Gunsight Mountain Lodge. Yeah, there's a DOT camera through here somewhere. And looking at it, it showed snow all over the road here. So this is where it snowed this morning. All right, guys, pulled over at a viewpoint for a minute. Look at that. And then check out where we are going. That way. So we'll be pulling off at a few more viewpoints, I think. Get some early spring footage. So pretty. Yeah, I'm pretty much pulling over at every pull out to take pictures. Even this time of year, I've said it before, but Alaska is just a postcard. Like, you just drive constantly through a postcard. And it's just so gorgeous. Right, we have found spring once again. We're dropping down towards the valley and starting to see leaves on the trees again. Might stop for one more viewpoint up here, but we'll see. Right now I'm kind of just jonesing to get to the campground and call it a day because I am bushed from all this driving. I am not in my 20s anymore. It's like I enjoy driving, but this has been a trip with this truck and trailer combo. So a little bit more exhausting than normal. All right, guys, here we are at the viewpoint that I always stop at yet again. See, that way is east. That's the Matanuska River down there. And you can see by the color of the leaves that things are just barely greening up here. Still pretty. Still smells like Alaska too. Smells pretty good out here. Check it out, we got a moose. Saw this one in time to get the camera out. Hello, Mr. Moose. Awesome. I was thinking I was done seeing animals for the day, but saw one moose. I haven't hit any construction in a while. First construction in Alaska, actually, because there was no construction on the Alaska Highway once I crossed the border. So let's see how long we sit here. We're at a flagger. All right, wait time was only about 10 minutes, so not too bad. Look at that view. Just gorgeous. Like I said, Alaska is a postcard. Stopped while we're waiting for that line of piloted cars to go by. I don't think we've got a widening, but what we do have is just a resurfacing. It looks like we're stopping and waiting for the concrete chewing machine, or the asphalt chewing machine up there, to do its thing. Alright fam, here is the total animals that I saw on my trip north this year. 10 black bears, 7 bighorn sheep, 3 elk, many Rocky Mountain sheep, 7 moose, a whole lot of bison, 3 Stone Mountain sheep, and 2 caribou. Like I mentioned earlier, we're going to be stopping up here at the Circle K to fill up the truck with gas before I head out of town, because it will be cheaper here than in Willow. And then we're going to be headed out towards the property. I'm actually not going to stay on the property to start with. I'm going to be staying at a campground nearby because there is some more work that I want to do on the pad before I take the trailer over there. So unfortunately, we're not going to end this video series at the property because I'm just going to be going to a campground, but I'm not going to show you guys which campground I'll be at just for privacy reasons. So we'll probably end it here after we get gas, and gas is currently $4.99 a gallon down here in the valley. Ugh, so expensive. Alright, so I think we're gonna end this video series right here. I have an indeterminate amount of time to get to the campground that I'm gonna be staying at, and so I think this is a good time to stop the video. Speaking of stopping, there's a red light up here that I gotta stop for. So thanks for coming along with me on this trip up the Alaska Highway. Be sure and stay tuned. We're going to have a lot going on this summer on the property. I'm going to be making, like I've said before, another trip hopefully back down to Utah and then back up to Alaska in August. So we'll be sure and film that and bring you guys along for that. Yeah, thanks for watching. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, hit that hype button, leave a comment. If you have any questions, hit that subscribe button if you want to see more trips up and down the Alaska Highway this year and more working on my property. And we will catch you guys in the next one.